and scale their entities across Africa and the rest of the world. So, I mean, this evening, I'll just be talking about key insights for international expansion. So, whether you're a business, a small business, you're a startup, or you're already at the SME level, I believe that there's something able to benefit from our conversation today. So, please just let me know if you can see my slide move. Tommy, can you confirm that you can
Yes,
see?
I can. I can see your slide.
Okay, great. So I'll try to ensure that this is also quite interesting for us because I understand that it's end of the day. I know that people are tired, but as much as possible, I'll make it fun and interesting and also relatable so that we can, get a lot. So, and I promise also not to waste time. Yes. So, I mean, the first part, I'm going to be speaking on key considerations for international expansion. And in this session, I'll just be talking about, types of expansion. So if they say expansion, right, what does it mean? The types, as well as what to factor in, like your considerations when you also want to expand. So I'll just start from what international expansion is, right, from the basics, right? So this is essentially just a growth strategy, right, that involves taking your business operations, so your products or your service from your home market to another market abroad, right? And you can also consider this as overseas expansion or foreign expansion. Now, what are the modes of international expansion? So we have exportation, we have direct investments, we have joint ventures, we have strategic alliances, we have mergers, franchising, and licensing. And I'm going to take time to explain each of these as well as their pros and their cons. So the first one we'll start with is exportation. And this essentially involves selling locally produced goods and services in a foreign market, right? That's what it is simply. So you are taking, for example, if you're a farmer, you're exporting maybe cocoa, for example, from Nigeria to the UK, you're exporting to South Africa. Or if you're even a fashion designer, the fact that you send your clothes abroad is also exportation. So when you will bill your friend in the UK, for example, on the US is asking you to sew something for them for their shabby or something, that's still exportation, right? Because you then way bill it to the country, even though you might not go through the shipping port, right? But you do go through the airports, right? Or you put it in the bag of somebody traveling, right? And the person then delivers when you get there. So that's still a form of exportation. Now, in terms of the advantages, right? Of course, it's low cost investment for you. You're not going to set up a company in the UK or the US, for example, right? You're just sending this, and of course, the client is paying for the logistics involved, and it's also a reduced risk for you, right? Since you're not going to invest so much, right? The risk is also very little, and it's a way to enter a market fast. So if you're a fashion designer, for example, your friend that you sold something for, or a family member that you sold something for abroad, sees whatever you're wearing and they're like, oh, where did you get this from? Oh, from a friend of mine in Nigeria that sells this. You literally enter the UK market like that, right? It's that simple. Or maybe you're a freelancer, or you're a software developer, for example, you're developing apps for your friends that are not in Nigeria. You have entered their market like that. I mean, that's how easy it is. And from there, you get referrals, and you're also able to do that for a couple of other people in these countries, right? And of course, so for those that are into agriculture, for example, or things that require, standardization, the disadvantage is complex export procedures. So if you're a farmer in Nigeria, or you're into agriculture, or agribusiness, or even like food and beverage, right? There's some standards and some licensing that you have to get from the Nigerian government before you're able to export your goods, right? To be cleared for them to move these things abroad. Those are the disadvantages that you face, and also transport costs as well. So, for example, the person in the UK, right, in the US, looking to patronize a Nigerian, probably assuming that the cost will be cheaper, but by the time they factor in transportation costs, it's almost the same thing as getting the goods or the service in their country, or rather the goods in their country, right? They won't bother, right? So I mean, for services, right, there's a lot more fluidity, and transport costs would not affect those in the service business. But for the service business, limited access to local market information can equally affect you. So for example, I'm sure we have seen on social media of cases where people are accusing Nigerians, right, of charging their counterparts not charging, rather paying their counterparts in Nigeria very little. I'm just trying to draw nuance from the jackpot wave, right? Just to ensure that this is as relatable as possible. So there've been cases where you accuse Nigerians of paying other people little money here, and that's because the average Nigerian, of course, if it's $100, $20, it's dollars. Dollars is 1,500 now. You collect it, but people are saying no, it's too cheap, right? It's because they're able to pay you cheaper here. That's why they're patronizing you. But I mean, imagine if you had knowledge of the UK or the American market on your own, you'll be able to charge what the American or the UK person is charging, right? With even lower logistics, right? Because you're in Nigeria, but you don't have access to this information. That's why if someone wants to pay you 20, 50, or even $100, you take it because of the kind of information that you have. So that's actually the disadvantage of exportation. Now, direct investments, right? So this is essentially when, as a company or as a business, you now go and establish your physical presence in another market. So you can do this by opening a subsidiary. So those are for big conglomerates, right? Big companies, they can open a subsidiary. So like Access Bank now, it's sad to hear about the news of their co-founder. And we pray that his soul rests in peace and the family is comforted. But they have subsidiaries around Africa. So you have Access Bank Kenya, Access Bank South Africa, Access Bank Ghana. They've been able to move into different countries. Same thing as UBA as well. So they have branches or they have subsidiaries around Africa, and even there's even Access Bank UK as well. So, or it can be wholly owned, right? So that means that you're just going to set up another business day. So I have Adetutu Limited in Nigeria, and I got set up another Adetutu Limited as a new company in Ghana, for example. It's not, a subsidiary or franchise of anyone. So this is essentially what direct investment is about: going into a new market, right, and setting up there either your branch or a new company itself. And of course, because you are the owner, you have significant level of control and ownership over your business. But I mean, just to give more context as well. So yes, you do have full ownership depending on the jurisdiction that you go to. So for example, if you register your company in the US, they allow foreigners to register their companies, right? So you can be a foreigner from Nigeria, I can register Adetutu Inc. in the US, and I don't need any local person or any person that has a PR or a citizen, or a residence permit, right, to partner with me. I can know my business. And as I said, a lot of Nigerians actually register, particularly startups, right? So see them register in the US because of the tax benefits and also the fact that you can own your entity entirely. So of course, we have some pockets of that across Africa, but in most African countries, you would need like a local director to partner with, right? Someone that is a local, someone that is a resident, someone that is a citizen before the government would allow you to open a company in their country. So of course, advantage of direct investment really is that you have greater control, of all your operations. You don't need to discuss with anybody. You can just move as you want. Same thing. So for full profits and returns, all the profits comes to your company, right? You're not sharing your profit margins with anybody. So for operational efficiency as well, so there's no bureaucracy or bottlenecks stopping you. You're able to move across smoothly, right? Make your decisions smoothly because you're not liaising with anybody. But of course, for direct investment, there's high investment cost because you're going to do market analysis. You will not just say you want to get register in another country without even thinking of, okay, who are my customers, right? How many people am I looking at? What the total addressable market, and what is even the specific number that I can actually obtain, right? In terms of also like the laws and regulations, those are things that you have to do. You have to engage lawyers, auditors, accountants, all these people that you need, people that are into strategy and marketing, right, to help you, give you informed decision, right, before you just up and say you want to go to another market. Also, there's also the point of high risk and uncertainty, right, because you are going into a new market. It's crazy that most of the analysis that you'll be giving, right, particularly from for those that are into business strategy and analysis, is based on assumptions. So they're saying, okay, you can get to this total number of people. They've not factored in, things like government policies and all of that can happen. So, and it's a new market for you, right? You're not familiar with the culture and the people. So it's actually high risk for you, but you're taking the step based on a calculated risk. And you're doing it alone. So the risk is higher, even though of course you get full returns, but if it doesn't work, the entire risk is on you. And also cultural and legal challenges, things I've already mentioned, right? The fact that you're going into a new place, for example, language might even be a barrier. Some people might like to relate with locals, like foreigner, as a Nigerian, and even if you go to Ghana, your accent will give you away And I don't know, for me, I feel like Nigerians, I think there's a term that they use now, that we have main character syndrome. So we're very arrogant. Of course, it stems from our confidence, right? So anywhere you are in Africa, they know this person is a Nigerian. So there's already that skepticism, right? And also because they sometimes think that we're fraudsters because of how people have destroyed, our reputation. So there's also that. And also, of course, the legal challenges, what is required, of the law. So things that are acceptable in Nigeria, for example, might not be acceptable there. I mean, there was a time when Flutterwave was being accused of money laundering in Kenya, of course, and it's not because they were actually, actually laundering money in that sense, right? Of course, it was just because of some legal nuances that they did not take into consideration with the central bank in Kenya. So that was why that happened. So those are the disadvantages. Please, I'd like to know if people can hear me. Maybe you can respond.
Yes, we are
Yes.
hearing you. Please give thumbs up if you're hearing her. Please
I
give
can
thumbs.
actually see thumbs up though, because I'm on full screen mode, but you'll be able
Oh,
to
okay,
questions
okay.
as well.
Okay,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Please
Can
drop
hear
in the
you.
chat box if you can hear her.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
can hear you.
Yes, yes. So the next one is the joint venture. So this is essentially an agreement between two or more businesses. So you have a local business or a foreign business, right? Where you come together to merge your operations and carry out business together. So in a joint venture, so for example, I'm a Nigerian and I want to go to um Ghana, for example, and I require a local director. So that means you need to get a Ghanaian, either someone that is a citizen or someone that has residency in Ghana, right, to partner with you. That's the only way you're able to do business in Ghana legitimately. So that's a form of a joint venture. And of course, this is not a permanent, thing. You can decide to base it on some number of years or even months, just test it out. And then, of course, to be safe, you then open a separate business from your own. So if I'm Adetutu and I want to partner with Kwesi, right, I can we can decide that we want to retain our our operations in our various countries, but for the purpose of the Ghana entity, we'll not set a new company called Cocoa Africa or something, just ensure that it's separate from what we already do. Now, in terms of advantages, right, of course, you're sharing the cost and the risks with somebody else. So that, is a good advantage. You know that you're taking the cost and all the burden on yourself alone. And of course, you have access to local expertise and the market. So you have someone that is a Ghanaian, understands the legal sphere, is able to get you lawyers, accountants, things that you need, help you to, get strategy, plan, already knows the culture, right, and what to do. So it will be very easy to penetrate. So of course, hence the faster market entry, because you already have somebody on ground that can pave the way for you and make it easy for you to enter the market. So for disadvantages, right, of course, the cultural differences. Ghanaians and Nigerians, yes, they call us cousins, but we're not exactly siblings, right? We're not living in the same house. There, there's a way we do things that they will not do things. So I mean, Nigerians, kudos to us, who are vibrant, who are aggressive, who are goal oriented. You may not get that from someone in Ghana, for example. They're more laid back. I mean, their market is smaller. They're about 2 million or 5 million, I think, in Ghana, and we're about 200 million. So we are used to competition. So, and that's what drives us. But someone in Ghana is not used to that. And same with other African countries, right? Apart from Kenya, that they also have a high population, so they're not used to striving so much. So this can there can actually be clashes on that, and also misalignment in your vision and objective. So I mean, for example, if you decide that for the next 3 years, I want to focus on chocolates, for example, right? And then your partner is saying no, we can diversify into drinks, into tea, into perfumes or something, and then you begin to clash, right? You will not be able to make decisions as quickly as if it was just you on your own. Then there's also the risk of your transfer of your trade secrets and technical know-how. And this also comes in the area where maybe you are doing something already in Nigeria and you want to scale it. And because of the joint venture, you want to share some information that has been helping you, or maybe with food now, your recipes, for example, if it's fashion, your design, how you make your design, how you write those design, you have to share some of these things, right? Because you want to penetrate this market with your partner. And then in the instance that you then disagree, the person has already taken away part of your knowledge and technical know-how. So these are some of the disadvantages, right, of a joint venture. Of course, this can also be prevented in the kind of agreement that you draft. That's why it's important that for every stage you do engage a lawyer, because there are clauses that you can actually put, like a non-complete clause, in the contracts that you have, to ensure that maybe for the next 10 or 15 years, right, no no one is allowed to do similar business in Ghana, or you can even say that everybody owns their IP. That's an intellectual property. So it prevents someone from stealing your own idea and going to replicate, right? All in the name of a partnership. So the next one is the strategic alliance. And of course, this is formed, of course, with some more businesses as well. And then you carry out specific operations. So the strategic alliance, right, unlike the joint venture, you don't need to like merge your businesses in that sense of your interest. It can still be, separate. You can still be operating Adetutu Inc. in Ghana, for example, and still be working on Cocoa Africa with Kwesi, for example, right? So that's the strategic alliance. So maybe they're just coming together for a particular project, right? And once that's done, people are able to go back to what they were doing before. So of course, the advantage is somewhat similar to the joint venture. You're sharing resources, you have a local partner that can ensure, local markets, expertise and intelligence. Of course, risk is mitigated because you're not putting your whole business into, right? It's still separate from the other, right? And then also disadvantages, of course, cultural differences like I've explained. And you're also going to depend on this partner because you don't have knowledge of the local markets, so you're literally depending on whatever this person is giving you or whatever this person is saying. And the same thing as well, your IP concerns, right? If the person wants to steal your property where you guys don't agree, but like I said, there are ways that you can actually at least mitigate such risks, right, in the agreement. Now, the next one is the merger. So, this is a combination of two or more companies from different countries, to form a new entity. So it becomes a single entity. And off the top of my head, an example I can give right in Nigeria is between Access and Diamond Bank. So Access and Diamond Bank came together and they formed a merger such that the two businesses became one. So all their operations became one. So there's no more Diamond Bank again. It's now Access Holding. So all their operations are actually together. So of course, as opposed to the strategic alliance, right, you're integrating all your assets, all your liabilities, your resources, your management team, staff, everything is coming together to be one. So, and a key advantage of this, right, is economies of scale. So you're literally not starting from scratch. You're leveraging on another person's technology, another person's network, teams, all of that. So the input that you're going to put in might be low and you get a lot of outputs, hence the economies of scale. Now, for local market intelligence, you're obviously partnering with a local, so it makes things easy for you, right? And you also have access to local expertise. And disadvantage is intensive capital, right? You're going to spend a lot because you're going to do due diligence on your partner. You will not just jump into bed with somebody. Like a merger, like a marriage, you're literally becoming one. So you have to do your due diligence. You have to check all their books. Have to ensure that they are not, that there's no debt, that they don't have crazy liabilities, that their labor and human resource is at par with what's obtainable in the country, because you don't want to partner with a slave driver and the government will not close down your business, right? You have to check what assets they have. Are the assets viable? So you're going to spend a lot in terms of your due diligence before you then finally partner. And also even after, you're going to change your brand, spend money on marketing again, changing your logo, all of that goes with it. So of course it's expensive. And of course you have to lose control because it's not just you. You're partnering with other companies, and also even the profit margins have to be distributed among the partners. There's also, the issue of cultural and differences, because of course you're partnering with someone from a different country, so there will be that issue. Now for franchising, so this is a method of distributing your
Sorry,
service.
Mrs. Adetutu, we are not seeing your slide. We are only seeing the first part of the slide.
Can you see franchising?
No, I'm just seeing key insight for international expansion. Yes, we can see it now.
Wait, so all the things I've been saying, you've not been seeing them.
Yes, I was wondering probably we'll soon get there. I didn't want to just come in, but now I
Wow.
see that I just realized now
Wow.
that it's not, you're actually
Okay.
going through a
So,
slide, but it's not showing.
wow.
Thank you.
Let me stop
Thank you. You
presenting.
can go on, please. But with me with you. Please go ahead.
Wow, that's actually sad. I was hoping that you could actually see. Wow, let me try sharing my entire screen. Just let me know if the slide is moving now when I
Okay.
share it again.
Okay.
Mm, but, so can you see the slide move?
Yes, 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 yes. Now,
Okay, let me try.
licensing, franchising.
Okay, so let me try to do this. Can you see it move?
Yes, yes. Very
It's not
good.
licensing, right? It's moving now.
Yes, factors to
O-
consider. Part B. Yes, yes.
Okay, so okay. So I guess this is where it was. Okay, franchising. So if it's not moving, please let me know. So we have franchising. So this is a method of distributing your product or your service, right? Where a franchisor, right, is going to transfer its entire model. So your trademarks, your logos, and even your business strategy for an initial fee and subsequent royalties to the franchisee. So an example of this would be most of the restaurants that we see right in Lagos are actually franchise brought into Lagos. So I'll give an example. We have Chicken Republic and Sports. These are South African businesses that somebody bought their franchise and brought to Nigeria. So we have KFC as well. KFC is a global brand, right? Somebody brought it to Nigeria. So the person that brought it is the franchisee, and the person paid, for the trademark, logos, and even the strategy because the person is essentially supposed to sell KFC or Chicken Republic. So how Chicken Republic and Sports represent themselves in their various home markets, right, is how they're represented here. So the logo has to be the same, everything has to be uniform, how they train the staff members, the kind of food that is served, the decoration in the restaurants, everything, right, has to be the same. So a franchisee would pay for this, pay an initial fee, and then also paying subsequent royalties. So the advantage really is that you have brand, expansion. Your business, just becomes global, right? Because somebody likes what you do in your local market and wants to replicate in another market. And of course, you have global presence from that, and you have local expertise, right? Because it's the franchisee that will be in charge, and the person is coming from their own home market, so they're able to establish everything for you. But the disadvantage really is the brand image risk. So, for example, if I'm a South African, right? And I come and I enter Chicken Republic in Nigeria, and I see that the chicken is tasteless. The fries are not up to the standard that I get in SA, right? That way, you have solved the brand image in my mind, right? So I'll just think that this brand is not consistent, and I probably will not go back, and hence you lose the you lose that customer, and it can become like a domino effect because your brand is not consistent due to somebody else that is not representing you well in their own market. And of course, you then have to depend on the franchisee's success really, because you're not there physically, so it's whatever the franchisee is doing to represent you that you will take. And of course the profit margin will be smaller because the person is only paying you royalties, right? As opposed to if you came here to establish yourself, you would get the full profit. Now the next one is the licensing. So unlike the franchising where the business model where the business owner gives you the entire business model, licensing, you can just agree to certain parts. So maybe I manufacture, for example, right? I make a machinery. I can decide to give you one part of my business to license for you to use, as opposed to me giving you my entire business model. Maybe I sell phones, for example. I can decide that maybe the panel that is being used, I can license it to you that you can use. So I think an example of course, it's not white labeled, but an example would be the Microsoft software, for example. So all of us, if you're not using a MacBook, right, you're most likely using Windows software on your laptop. And of course, that's a license that Microsoft gave to Dell, HP, Lenovo, and all these companies, right, to use their software. So Microsoft did not give them their whole entire business operation. Just okay, this is our software for laptops, right, and PCs. you can use, and then of course you then pay for that. So there are some other solutions that are white labeled that you don't even know that it's Microsoft that is powering it, but they get the license from the owner to use. And I'm sure that happens a lot in the pharmaceutical space. So it will be interesting to know that most of the drugs that you use are made by the same person, but the branding is just different because someone has given them, the license to use that particular drug, but the branding is just different. So in terms of advantages, of course, it's reduced operational risk for you, but these people are entering into the market for you, right? And of course, you get revenue from that, and it's fast market entry for you, right? If you are the one that is showing your logo, just like Microsoft, right? We all know that we're using the Microsoft software, so we know that Microsoft is in Africa, for example. Now, the disadvantage, of course, you're depending on the license's performance. So, of course, if you're not represented well, it will become an issue for your own brand. And of course, the licensee can become a competitor. And of course, this would obviously come in where proper legal structures were not put in place. So if you're doing this kind of thing, you have to ensure that you have an agreement with the partner, a non-compete, for example, right, or an exclusivity clause, things that can prevent the person from taking your IP from you, right? So if the partner comes and says this agreement is only for 3 years, but I've given you my software, so to an extent you know my trade secrets, and if I've not put any legal structure in place, right, to mitigate against you deciding to replicate my, I'll not be able to do anything. So I mean, the second point flows to the third one as well, which is the intellectual property concern. So you have to ensure that at every point in time, there's a lawyer that you're speaking to ensure that you know you don't run the risk of giving all of your trade secrets to someone that intends to steal and use for their own selfish interest. Now, the factors to consider when you're expanding, the first thing would you look at is your current strength in the local market, and this will apply maybe to maybe like startups or tech companies. What is your strength here? Are you known only in Lagos? If you're not known only in Lagos, why don't you try and replicate your product in different states in Nigeria, right? Before saying, okay, I've captured Nigeria, now I want to move. But I know that if you're in fashion, for example, like I've said, the Jackpot wave has helped a lot of Nigerians, right? So you're able to do exportations to what Nigerians need, in other markets, because of course for immigrants, they can't afford a lot of things, from the get-go. So they are still trying to see what they can get from Nigeria. So that's also a good way for you to move quickly, right? And also for those that are also into agricultural products, the next one would be applicable to you, like your development of a product meets international standards, right? So there are a lot of standards and processes for different countries when it comes to agri produce and foods and beverages. So you have to ensure that your products can meet those standards, because if they get to those, if you're able to try to find a way to, sabotage your way and manipulate to get your produce out of Nigeria, once it gets to another person's, country, they're still going to inspect it there, and there's no guarantee that they're going to accept it. I remember there was a time that there was a news some years ago where Nigeria spent so much money on yams, and the yams, I think they were sent to the US, and the US did not allow the yams enter because that the yams had pests and all those things inside. So imagine that kind of waste of energy, resources, and all of that. And then the yams were left to spoil and decay at the border because they were not allowed to enter the country. So you have to ensure that your products meet the standards of these countries that you want to move your produce to. Now, also, geographical distance is also something, because you're going to spend a lot of money, right? There's going to be cultural difference. So you have to consider the market that you want to start from. So, case in point, the Jackpot way, we have plenty of Nigerians in the UK, in Canada, Ireland, and a number of them in the US. So even if you decide to take up any of the mode of expansions we've looked at, you know that first, they're not so far from us, and you have a market there. Now, if you now say, okay, I want to go to Australia, that's really far, or Singapore, that's where you want to take your own market to. It's really far from Nigeria. So is the financial implication, okay by you? And even the target market is Oyimbos that are plenty there, right? And I feel like your first point, of course, will be Nigerians that, then you can now use now replicate. And now when you've now settled, you can now start getting white customers. So you have to look at geographical distance, right? And also, do you have the money to carry out your expansion plans? That's very important because, like I said, it's expensive, particularly if you're not going the exportation route. If you're going to establish whether through a partnership or you're going there to, enter directly by yourself, because a lot of money, of course, and people have found ways to make it easy. So, of course, fundraising is something that you can consider, and that's why you see a lot of startups raising money. So you see this one raising $1 million, $2 million. The reason why they're raising so much money, right? Of course, for the ones that are serious, so are not the grifters, is because when they send their proposals to VCs or DFIs, right? They are telling them that Africa is their market, so it's not just Nigeria alone. So of course, the vision is Africa, but they'll start from a particular country. That's why they're raising so much money, so that such that when they've established in Nigeria, they're not able to replicate that in different markets in Africa. So cultural differences, you have to consider that. If you're going to another country, how do they behave? What's their behavior like? You don't want to sell something that's a taboo. So, for example, I know that pork is a taboo for people that are Muslims or in the Arabic nation. So, you can imagine selling, pork to somebody in Morocco, for example, or you say I want to go and sell pork in Morocco. Definitely, your business is dead on arrival because it's a taboo for them. So, these are things that you have to take into consideration. Then also, what are the laws and regulations in this country? Like I said with the Flutterwave example, in order not to be blacklisted or just cause issues for yourself or be controversial, it's important for you to know what laws obtain, to your own industry so that you don't get in trouble with the law. Some countries, taxes are very important. They don't joke with their taxes. Unlike Nigeria, where I hear that people are able to bypass salaries and FIRS, you cannot do some countries. And coupled with the fact that you're even, a foreigner again, they're going to be more stringent. So these are things that you have to take into consideration. Then what's the need of the foreign market? So I mean, an example that I would readily give again is still with the jackpot wave. So your friends and family are in the US or in the UK, for example, they need clothes because they will do wedding, right? They will celebrate, they will contact people in Nigeria to get these things done for them. This is something that you can say that is a need, right? And so these are things that you can readily look at in terms of the needs of the market. Like, so this thing that I'm selling, is it a need in the market that I'm considering? And also the competition. So who are the people that are selling to these people already in UK and the US? And how can I be better than them? That's why you consider competition, because if they can get the same thing for the same quality and the same price, then they probably will not bother contacting people back home. But if they can't, they'll definitely reach out to you. So that's why you consider competition. So this next session, I will just, share some examples of businesses in different sectors that have been able to move their business, right, from Nigeria to the rest of the world. Please confirm that you can see this slide.
Yes, I can see the slide. I believe others can.
Okay. So we'll start on food and beverages. So of course, the popular brands here will jump at you. We have Dangote, we have Honeywell, we have Flour Mills of Nigeria, we have Olam. So of course, for those that don't know Dangote, they produce, things like sugar, things like spaghetti, things like salt. These are things that they export to other parts of Africa as well. And then we have, Flour Mills of Nigeria, providing flour and all of that. We have Honeywells in terms of their produce as well, so spaghetti, with all of those. They happen to other African markets. Then we have Olam too. Olam is very big in the palm industry, so they're the ones that export, palm oil and palm produce as well. But we have pockets of smaller companies here, and that's why I decided to put them here just to have as inspiration for businesses here. So we have Buka Hut. People know Buka Hut in Lagos, right? And maybe some parts of Nigeria as well. They're present there. But Buka Hut is now in the UK as well. So I'm sure that their first point of call really will be the Nigerian customers, of course, and then you get there from the Nigerian customers, they're able to move to the, to the blacks, and then of course you then get Hispanics, and of course you then get white people into your business. And we have Fastest Cakes. So Fastest Cakes, they've moved to Kenya. Some of you will have seen their billboards around. They're popular for cakes in Lagos, and now they've been able to move their operations to Kenya. They have a branch there now. And we have Jevnik. Jevnik has a branch in the US. We have Kilimanjaro. So Kilimanjaro is a Nigerian, restaurant / fast food, and they also have presence in Kenya now. So of course the tech companies, right? We have Andela. Andela produces tech talent, and they've been able to replicate this model in different African countries too. We have Alt School. Alt School recently moved to Ghana, because everybody knows Iroko TV. They're popular in Africa because they provide Nollywood content literally to the world. And we have Move. Move is vehicle financing, right? They provide vehicle financing. I'm sure some of you have been seeing maybe some Uber that have Move there. So Move partners with Uber to give drivers vehicles, right, that they're able to pay, and they do that across Africa as well. We have Paystack. Paystack is of course very popular. They are in South Africa as well. We have Paga. Paga has even moved beyond the African market. I think they're in Mexico and the Philippines now. We have Trips. So Trips is also into vehicle financing and diverse countries in Africa. Waka now is a travel agency. I'm sure we see them when we're trying to buy maybe flight tickets or something. They're in different African countries now as well. Now for fashion, so we have Diola Segu, we have David Wedge, we have Duro Olowu, we have Maki O, we have Tiffany Amber. I don't know why our fashion designers don't like to give us fine logos, because I mean, compared to the ones that we've seen previously, I'm wondering why people that are giving us, really nice designs in clothes are not putting a lot of effort in their own logos. So I hope designers, here, please let give us, very, very good logos. I beg.
Yes,
Let's
so
move beyond the black and white. So for Diola Sego, I think I've noticed that she does a lot of partnerships with global brands as well. David Wedge currently has a store in the UK, and he's opened a store, Duro Olowu as well. They have a store in the UK. Makio and Tiffany Amber as well. They have stores in these countries, and they've also partnered with those global brands as well, in terms of penetrating the market. Now, this last part is just to provide insight on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And this is an African initiative where the African Union is trying to ensure that Africa becomes one through a free trade area. And I'll just explain that in a bit. So the free trade area essentially is to provide an opportunities for Africans to trade with themselves at a very low cost. So you know how we're currently battling import duties, right? Because people are bringing things from different parts of the world, and the custom people are insisting that they want to peg it at the dollar. I think now it's about $1,350, that they've pegged, sorry, yes, 1,350 naira rather to a dollar for tariffs. Under the AFCFTA, we're going to have very reduced tariffs. So if you are sending something to Ghana, right, the import duties, right, for the goods to land there will be very, very cheap. That way, African produce will be able to move, whether goods or services, right, investments, IP, and competition, everything will be very affordable, and we're able to do this with each other at an affordable rate. So trade officially started in 2021, but countries are still, deliberating on what form of tariffs they want to give, so that's why it's taking so long to actually come into fruition. But I mean, thankfully, this year there was a pilot that they started, I think, with South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, where they are testing out this free trade model to see how it works. I think last week the ship sailed from Durban in South Africa and it's going to all these different selected countries, right, just to test how smooth it will be, the tariffs, and how easy it will be for Africa to trade with each other. Now, of course, according to the secretariat of the AFCFTA, Wamkale mainly, it's a big deal because, I mean, the market is expected to be as large as 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion. And of course, the goal definitely is to make people out of poverty and to create wealth, commerce, industry, jobs, improve competition on the continent. So in terms of, SMEs, how does it apply? How am I able to benefit? What are the opportunities open, right? The first thing is that you have access to new markets. So, I mean, African-owned businesses can enter into different countries, and of course, that's where you expand your customer base. And there's also the benefit of foreign direct investment. So the good thing about the AFCFTA is that the tariffs are only applicable to Africans and African businesses. So that means that a foreigner, right, that wants to get access to the AFCFTA has to partner with an African. So of course that means that foreign businesses will then be on the lookout for local partners that they can partner with, right, to penetrate Africa. So that will obviously be a good opportunity for big businesses and multinationals to partner with local firms, right, to develop raw materials, train them in best practices and even transfer technology in the process. Also, it also reduce your costs, right? Because imagine if you're able to get, because Ghana, for example, produces cocoa, and Nigeria produces cocoa. But if getting cocoa from Ghana is cheaper, definitely you hop on that and it will reduce your input cost, right? And also another advantage, for example, would be labor. So there are not a lot in Ghana, for example, and you want labor, you come to Nigeria, where we're about 200 million, right? We have the human resources that also reduces your bottom, your means of production, sorry, and then also would increase your bottom line. So those are the ways, reduction in input costs will happen. So of course, then bringing it home, how can I position for opportunities? Okay, yes, this thing is not fully enforced, but it is going to take effect, eventually, and it's better to be prepared, for opportunities, right, than to not be scrambling in day when opportunity comes. So the first thing will be to prioritize information. It's better that you join the associations. Businesses in different industries have associations, right? We have the farmers association, we have the importers association, we have ICANN, for example, we have MBA. These are the points of contact for government when they want to give incentives to push the AFCFTA. So if you're not in those associations, you definitely cannot get information and cannot get the benefits of these things. I mean, CBN for a while has been hammering on agriculture and providing loan and incentive for farmers. So, but if you're not part of them, you cannot, obviously, you will not know what is going on. And in Nigeria, the way we like to operate is who you know, right? So it's important that you are also part of those associations so that you're able to get the benefits, when government is ready to move forward. Also, even there's a committee, a presidential committee on the AFCFTA that is working on integrating unregistered businesses into the formal sector, right? And they offer loans and tax rebates. And obviously, they're going to go through associations too. So if you're not under these associations, you will not get information. So, I mean, how this applies to service business. So for ICANN, if you're an accountant here or you're a lawyer, MBA, right, there's also a plan to liberalize services. So, for example, you can offer legal services to somebody in Kenya, or you can even move there and start working there. But they're going to go through your professional bodies, right? So that's why important that you join associations and your professional bodies so that you can have access to real-time information and data. Also, you have to produce what Africans need. Unfortunately, in Africa, we produce similar things. So Ghana, we produce cocoa. In fact, I think most West African countries produce cocoa and cassava. So it's like, what then is left for me to export then if our raw materials are the same? So it's important that you look at what is unique, for example, to Nigeria and what you can sell. So a friend of mine that is a Kenyan told me that they like to wear our bubus and our adewes and Ankara. So when she came to Nigeria last week, she bought a couple and took it back. I'm like, wow, this is a fantastic business opportunity. And they saw these things from Instagram. You know how we have all our colorful bubus, with our adire, and then now people actually like it. And because of course Nigerian tailors, though frustrating, they have good finishing, right? When they do, take the time to design and hem, and also, these are things that you can actually easily export. They're low hanging fruit, even food. So in South Africa, for example, which is an example that I love to give, they eat like white people, right? So they always look forward to local delicacies and dishes from other parts of Africa, and that's why you see Nigerian restaurants going there. So these are things that you can actually look at. What is unique to us as as Nigerians, that we can actually export to these countries. And also important that you collaborate, right? So where you want to focus on, the world is now a global village, literally. So you have to start trying to look at how you can collaborate with you want to collaborate with people in other African countries, right? LinkedIn is a good place to meet people. I'm sure that there are even Facebook groups, Telegram. I mean, there are different ways that even on IG, right? And I mean, that's Instagram. There's a way that you can connect with businesses that are doing things, in your area that you feel you can collaborate to try to scale your operations. And in terms of positioning for opportunities as well, you can also create opportunities in problem areas. First one, right, that jumps to me, right, is payment systems. Yes, I know that there are plenty fintechs in Nigeria and even Africa, but a lot of them have not even solved the issue of cross-border payments. So we have people like Bata, by Further Wave, we have Cheaper and Payday that have tried, but this is actually like for remittances. How about my day-to-day operation as a business person, right? I'm supposed to receive money from Kenya and I don't want it to be pegged like dollar. I want to receive good rates, right? Or I want to send money outside Nigeria and I don't want it to be pegged by the dollar, right? How am I able to do this for my day-to-day operations? Our fintechs have not been able to solve for it. So these are opportunity areas as well. Language barrier, right? We have Francophone Africa, Lusophone Africa. So that's Portuguese. We have people that speak Arabic, right? It's still a barrier, and we have a lot of local dialects. We have Swahili, we have Tosa. I mean, there's Yoruba, Igbo. These are things that people will need translation for because they're coming to do business with you, right? I mean, if you notice, we have a lot of Chinese translators now, Korean translators in Nigeria, because the Chinese are coming here and they want to do business with us, and nobody that can speak their language. So these are opportunity areas. I mean, compliance services, where I work outside, if we do already provide this, but the market itself is, is really huge. We're dealing with 4 African countries. How can we ensure that people can scale their businesses to these other countries seamlessly without any issues, right? We have talent outsourcing too. As the market is growing, right, you want key talent. So as a Kenyan that wants to come here, I need good talents to work with me. How can I get that? Currently, we have talent, QL and Andela. These are technical talents for tech companies. So what about non-technical talents that SMEs would need, right? Who's solving for that? So we have transportation and logistics, right? An example is Global 360. So they facilitate cross-border, trade in Africa. I think the last thing really I would just say to think technology. So I mean, as we've seen, there are a lot of eyes on Africa because I mean by 2050 we would have the largest young working population in the world. We're also the last frontier because there's so many things to do here. There are real problems to solve on the continent: infrastructure, food, education, healthcare, security. So the world is coming here to invest because, of course, where there are problems, there are solutions. So from where you stand, right, I'm sure you don't want someone else to come and disrupt your industry. It's better that you be the one disrupting yourself. So how can you infuse technology in what you're doing to make it scale, right, to make it attractive for investments? These are things that you can actually look at. And like I said, investors are investing in these tech companies because they're solving a continental problem. So if you're able to do something that can solve an issue that goes beyond Nigeria, and you have a solid business model, of course, and you're a credible founder, you will not have issues getting investments. So, I mean, we've come to the end of my presentation now. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Adetutu. That was a wonderful and insightful session. I have questions from my end. If you also have questions, please do want to raise your hand and we'll be giving you opportunity to ask your question. But let me go first. Thank you for that thumbs up and clapping. Thank you very much. Okay, my first question, Mrs. Adetutu, is at what point do I know that my business is ready for expansion? Is it when I make more money in my business, or is it the demand outside of the country that determines, okay, my business is ready for expansion? That's my first question.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd already shared some factors, right, that you take into consideration. But I mean, based off of what you have just said, demand is very important. So like I said, with the Jackpot Wave, do you have friends and family that's requesting for your goods, your produce or your service? Definitely, if you already have that en masse, then I think it's time that you start looking at how you can scale, of course. And the first point of call would be to start from exporting, not of course going into the market directly because of the risk involved. So actually test with your friends and family, right? That can this business scale beyond them? So for example, if a fashion designer, you have friends in Canada that want to always sew ashwabi and you're sewing, and the people are from your friends making inquiry that, oh, what do you make this? I like this, I like the color, I like the print, I like the design, you're then able to decide that, okay, yes, I think it's time for me to find out a good way for me to enter this market.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Mr. Yenan, please, over to you. You can ask your question.
All right. Thank you very much, Adetutu, for a wonderful presentation. My question is, okay, is there kind of like a rule of thumb, because you mentioned different kinds of ways of expansion, but is there kind of like a rule of thumb that if maybe you are doing this particular kind of business, then this is the possible way for you to expand? So that's my question. Thank you.
So there's no rule of thumb, but I think for me it's also important to start small before you then scale it up, because you are going to a new territory, right? You don't have a lot of information. Most of what you have is basically from your research, from the internet. You don't actually landed physically in that place. So of course, while there's no rule of thumb, I think it will be important for you to start small. Then from the little that you have seen, you then be able to determine the best mode for you to expand in that new market.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Babatunde, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, good evening.
Good
Hello,
evening.
good evening. And thank
Good
you for the
evening.
lecture. This is actually a mini MBA class where I really appreciate. Concerning the African continent free trade zone, I was actually thinking about doing a study. I mean, using it for my project. So you've really broadened my enlightenment about that. But I don't know. I just want to ask: is it possible for you to make this slide available for us?
Yes, sure. So
Hello,
I'm
can
happy
you
to
hear me?
share the slides. I'm happy to share the slides with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adetutu. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Okay, I have one more question. So,
Okay.
what aside from making profit, what other metrics can I say that after starting out on this international expansion for my business, aside from making money, what other thing can I use to measure my success?
I think I would say impact, right? And the value that you are adding. So of course, with before you can make impact, people have to know about your product, right? So there's awareness and the fact that you have offered those services to somebody. So I think impact is, really key. Of course, as if you're not looking at the profit side of things first, but you what's your impact in that market, right? Do people really need your products? Have you positioned yourself in a way that people need you? That if something happens to me, for example, I'm very sad because I really, really need that product, or if she's not available, I'll be sad. I think impact is very important, and it's another way to actually measure apart from profits.
Okay, thank you very much. Please let's ask question. Once our speaker leaves, we don't have an opportunity again to ask her any question. So please ask your question now. She's here to answer your questions. Please go ahead and ask your question. Anybody in the house with question? She's waiting. Mr. Babatunde, do you still want to ask a question? You're still raising your hand? Or it's just from the previous one? Okay. I think no one else is raising their hand. Dr. Abigail, are you still here? Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Adetutu. That was a wonderful and insightful session. It was recorded, and I really, really, really do appreciate this moment. It was an eye-opener to so many things and the opportunities that lie for us as business owners when we intend to expand. Thank you. So at this point, I can see someone trying to drop a chat. Do you have a question? Sorry, please. Excuse me, please.
No problem.
Okay, so I think someone's trying to reach out. Mrs. Adetutu, would you like to share your contact so that in case persons want to reach out to you for
Okay.
consultation, please?
Okay.
That's
So I
what
can
someone
drop
was trying to
my
ask.
email in the chat
Okay.
as well as my WhatsApp number.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please do take the person that requested for a number. Please do want to take note. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Adetutu. 64. Please do want to take down the number and the email. Okay, at this juncture, we bring the meeting to a close. Okay, Mrs. Adetutu, thank you so much. Please call. Do you want to take down a number?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and please feel free to reach out to me. If you, I can. There's a question in the chat. It says,
okay.
What services do we offer in taking your businesses abroad? So of course, that would be in relation to the needs of the market, right? So I mean, the most popular type of service now, I think, is the software development, right? People in the tech industry, so the product managers, the people building the apps, the UI UX design people, those are the ones that their skill is in demand now globally. So they know that of course there is a market for that. So that's one type of service that people are actually scaling abroad. And also I think for lawyers as well, I think main lawyers and accountants, you have people that reach out to you, right, that want to do something in another African market, and they're asking questions from you, like you're supposed to provide, an answer. Those are other form of services that people actually render now, and they do that in partnerships with other people, locals in those markets. So, for example, you partner with maybe a lawyer in Kenya or in Ghana, for example, or an accountant in those countries, and it's easy to find them, right? You can find these people on LinkedIn. I mean, the world is a global village now, so it's not difficult.
Okay. So the person is trying to say, sorry, I meant you. I think probably the person is in a busy, noisy place. What service do you mean to say what services do you offer in taking? Sorry,
Yeah,
can
so
you repeat the
asking
question?
what services we render. So at Side Brief, what we do is that we help you with your compliance and your registration in various markets. So for example, if you want to register your company in the US, in the UK, we do that for you, as well as the 54 African countries, for example. If you're looking to scale in those markets, we help you with that. So we also help you get bank accounts, help you with your tax registrations, and we also provide post-incorporation services as well. So you want to get your licenses, your business licenses in these entities, we help you get that. We help you facilitate your visas and all of those things, right? Those are, the areas that we do assist with, and also legal opinions in terms of laws that apply to your business in those markets.
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe, Mr. Yobami, the question has been answered. Any other question? Please do want to quickly drop in the chat box. If you cannot unmute yourself, do want to drop in chat box. Any other question? Mr. Gudipe, you will get a recorded version of this.
Yes,
we don't want
yes.
too much person's time.
I was about to say that, yes.
So, okay. Any other question? Please drop in the chat box. If it's that you can't unmute yourself, drop in the chat box. Any other question? Going? 10, 9. Okay. Any other question? I think no one is dropping.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Because I almost ended the meeting until I saw. Okay, you even saw it first that somebody dropped. So I don't want the situation whereby someone will say, "Oh, I was trying to chat, but you ended the meeting early." So that's why I'm trying to be patient.
No problem.
Okay, at this point, I think we have to bring the meeting. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much. Yes,
very insightful.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yes, please give our speaker thumbs up. Show some love, give flowers. Thank you,
Thank you
thank
so
you, thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We leave the meeting.
Bye.
So it says you have to stop recording first before I leave. I think you made me co-host.
Oh, yes. Sorry, let me remove you from the post.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so good evening to everyone. Our speaker has left. Please kindly unmute your mic. Well, I'm not asking questions. Mrs. Precious, Mrs. Elizabeth, that's Dr. Abigail.
I'm here.
Hope you benefited from the session.
Yes, it was a lot of, but what I was trying to see, she made mention of there are a lot of fun playing around, which I'm privileged to know because I'm a member of LCCL. That is for agric sector, but for health sector, because I'm into health awareness. For export too, there are some other program I'm privileged to know. In this regard, how do we help
She has
us?
actually, I wish you had asked this question earlier. She has actually left. Oh.
I know, I'm just trying to, you are our coordinator. I'm trying
So,
to see how we can benefit from this lecture. You have access to them. So things that we can come up.
okay, she shared her contacts. Did you take note of it? She dropped it
Yes,
in the chat box. Okay.
exactly.
You kindly go to chat box now. The chat is still there. You see
Yes,
she
I've
shared her
written it down.
contacts.
I've
Okay,
written it.
great. Okay, so you can always chat her. Just let her know that so that she can know how she will address you. Let her know that it was from the 21 days business challenge, and then now ask your question.
All right.
Yes. Don't forget, my name is Tommy, the brand name, the business health expert. When it comes to automating the processes in your business, HR, accounting, inventory management, I am your go-to person. When it comes to promoting your business with videos and digital marketing, I am your go-to person. And as regards social media management, handling your ads and all of that, my team and I are ready to help you out on that. So do well to reach out at any point you need our service. We're always willing to offer our best service. Okay, thank you and thank you. Please do have a wonderful night, friends. Don't forget your assignments. Please, network with others. Drop your TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook page link. Let people network with you and make sure you network with others. And see you tomorrow. Please be punctual as usual. Thank you and God bless you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.